Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this webinar, which is being hosted by final year tourism management students as part of our MICE module. Our group has four students: Geraldine, Eric, Jinping Yu, and myself, Francesca, and I will be the moderator for today. As you may all have gathered by the posters which were being advertised, the webinar will mainly focus on the new tomorrow for the global tourism industry post-COVID-19. In other words, the impacts which the COVID-19 pandemic has had on the tourism industry globally. By paying a closer look at the airline industry and tourism operators, many of you may be familiar with our two speakers, Mr. Naban and Dr. Chia, whom both have a great experience and understanding of the tourism industry. On behalf of my team, I would firstly like to say thank you to all of you who are present, and we do hope that this webinar provides you with greater knowledge and understanding on the different topics being presented. If you have any questions during the presentations, feel free to drop them in the comment box, and the speakers will address them during the Q&A part of the webinar. We will kick off the webinar with our first speaker, Mr. Naban. He will share with us information on the background of the airline and aviation industry, as well as the impact which the COVID-19 pandemic has had on the sector and tourism. Mr. Naban's presentation will conclude how airlines are starting to move forward and continue to operate in a post-pandemic world. You will also be able to enjoy a short video to help better your understanding of the topic. I now invite Mr. Naban to begin his presentation.
Francesca, thank you very much for the introduction. And to all of you who are there, a warm welcome. Good seeing you in this platform. Okay, let us go through the PowerPoint slides. Okay, before we come to the final part, recovery phase of the airline industry, I like to take you a little bit the background of the airline industry so that we can appreciate what the contribution of the airline industry to the economy of the country and the rest of the world. Right? First will be the pre-COVID pandemic, and in the second part of it will be the COVID pandemic impact itself. The last phase will be the recovery phase. Right? Next. So it's an enabler. The airline industry is an enabler. It connects you from one country to another country and within the country, and connects you to all the various industries. It's a means to an end. Just like you going to a shop, you can walk if it is close by. If it is long distance, you take a car. It's just like that. Airline is just a means to an end. It's a derived demand. And it has got speed, it's reliable, and of course customer service is important, and it connects geographical places around the world. Next. It's the safest mode, has the highest speed compared to all the modes, high yield, low volume goods like moving of precious stones, jewelry, so it can be moved at a fraction of time as compared to other modes. Basic thing what the air industry does is selling seats and cargo space, that's all. Okay, next one. As mentioned earlier, it's an enabler. It connects to all the various sectors in the tourism industry. Accommodation, where you need place for you to stay, retailing, shopping, ground transportation, resorts, and of course you need to eat food, and also beverage, entertainment. So it's connected whether into the country or taking you out of the country. Okay, next. So what has happened? I just want to give you a little bit background, the historical background of the industry. Next. We had a propeller aircraft. This is where we used to have, and now you have this the latest aircraft 350 900 version. It can go 17 18 hours non-stop flight, right? So next one. Yeah, taking you back from 1939 when we started flying the flying boat from Australia, Sydney to London. It took us about 32 stops. It took us 10 days, right? Can you imagine that? Then over a period of time, thanks to technology, it reduced to 6 stops, 2 stops, and finally in 1990 we just did it one stop and non-stop from Sydney to London. It took us only 19 hours and 0.5 here to direct flight with 240 passengers on the 777. Just giving you a background. Next. So people go everywhere for business and leisure. Next. So this can be a little bit small for you, but I've given the organizers the PowerPoint slide. You can go through it. You can see this is the historical background of our growth of the passenger traffic from 1945. This is all the international, right? All the time it has been growing. Although we had suffered oil crisis in the 1972, Iraq-Iran war in the 82, and also we have the Gulf crisis, Asian crisis. Of course, the September 11, you would not forget, the Twin Towers were brought down, right? People were scared to travel. They thought that was something that they wouldn't want to do. But it was just there for a while. After that, it shot up again. Then we had SARS, similar to what we had. Now, then we had 2008, we had the financial crisis where people didn't have the capacity, the means to travel around. But it was only just for a while. But it moved again. Look at the graph, it moved again high up to 2019. We had got about 4.5 billion passengers traveling all over the world. And starting 2020 last year, the whole thing dropped. The international as well as domestic dropped by 60% in the world total passengers. Okay, next. So there's lack of demand, grounding of aircrafts, travel restrictions, loss of employment, business turndown, you know it, impacting the tourism industry. So there is a clip which I would like to share with you, give you a total perspective what the grounding means, which means once the aircraft is grounded, so many people are affected. So the airlines make money when the aircraft is flies. Airline industry doesn't make money when the aircraft is on ground. So it's a short video, 10-minute video, just to give you a sum up of the whole industry and sound. The sound is not there. Can you start the thing again and put in the sound, please? No, the sound is not there. Jitinyu, are you able to get the sound, please?
The coronavirus has devastated the airline industry. U.S.
Thank
air travel
you.
dropped 95% compared to last year, and the number of flights scheduled globally is down by 63%. The insides of airports are empty, but outside is another story. While some airlines have started transporting cargo on passenger planes, more than 2/3 of the world's commercial aircraft are grounded.
It's somewhere between 14 and 15,000 aircraft that are parked, or almost 60% of the fleet.
Never before in history have airlines had to ground so many planes so quickly.
Our customers have come to us and said, look, we're parking literally hundreds of aircraft per day. And logistically, it's very, very complex. This is a particular difficult time. And we've created a particular app that literally allows them to virtually park the aircraft.
With no demand for flights, Delta and United reported their first quarterly losses in more than 5 years. American Airlines told CNBC its revenue is down 90% from a year ago. Parking hundreds of aircraft is also adding to their losses. These planes can't just sit idle. They need routine maintenance and a place to be stored. And when you suddenly have thousands of planes with nowhere to go, it becomes a logistical nightmare. Before the coronavirus hit, airplanes were where they were meant to be, in the air. At certain times of the year, there could be as many as 20,000 planes in flight at the same time around the world. At the end of 2019, the global air fleet was nearly 24,000, and now more than 16,000 of those massive machines need a place to park.
And that number can continue to go up as airlines continue to cut their networks.
Aircraft storage facilities have been around for decades, but never in history has the aviation industry had to park so many planes at once. Airlines are having to get creative about finding space for planes. A recent flyover of a storage facility in Victorville, California, shows planes fit together like puzzle pieces on unused runways. Victorville is well known as one of the world's biggest airplane boneyards, a storage location for out-of-service or old planes. It was already storing Southwest's fleet of Boeing 737 MAX 8s, but it's now storing hundreds of other aircraft due to the lack of demand in air travel. Victorville, along with boneyards in Roswell, New Mexico and Tucson, Arizona, are currently the top 3 locations for parked aircraft. They've collectively stored 800 planes so far.
Routine parking happens from time to time with very, very small volumes of aircraft, but this is completely unprecedented.
It's so widespread that aircraft are being parked at airports all over. Major airports now have, many parked aircraft on the ground, and they're going to be there for a while.
As you can see here, American Airlines is using Tulsa International Airport as a parking lot for many of its jets. There's currently over 50 grounded airplanes parked here.
Nothing this big has ever landed in the Alice. More than a dozen planes are now sitting in a storage facility at the Outback Airport.
Aircraft range in size. For scale, a standard football field is 160 feet wide. A narrow-body jet like Boeing 737 has a wingspan of 117 feet, but wide-body airliners can be twice that. The world's largest plane, Airbus's A380, has a wingspan of 261 feet. Even aircraft manufacturer Airbus is being asked to help.
Our customers have come to us and said, look, we're parking literally hundreds of aircraft per day, and we have a huge amount of maintenance work to do with that. And we've created a particular app, and that's an app that helps our customers to work out exactly how much maintenance is needed and even logistically where the aircraft are. And that enables them to very quickly optimize how to park the aircraft, where to park them, and also to prepare them when they come out of service when this is through.
Airbus, along with Boeing, dominate the commercial aircraft industry and together make up 91% of the market share. Airbus has over 11,000 planes in operation. Skywise is a digital platform the manufacturer offers its customers to keep up the health of an aircraft. It collects data from systems and sensors to help predict maintenance, as well as help with logistics of daily operations. Airbus has added a new feature to help airlines find parking. Parking an airplane isn't as easy as just finding a spot. Factors like how long the plane will be out of service and what type of maintenance needs to be done play a role in finding a location.
The decision is made as to whether it's basically storage or whether it's actual parking. Now, parking is typically relatively short term. It's a bit like putting something in the fridge compared to longer term storage, which would be where you put it in the freezer. So certain pieces of maintenance must be done before you can park up an aircraft, even if it's just for a couple of days.
These aircraft cost hundreds of millions of dollars, and maintaining them is not cheap. Even when parked, they need to run the engines, cycle fluids, and move the tires among many other checklist items. This is why some airlines are flying with just a few passengers aboard, just to keep them running. When airlines know the plane is going to sit for months at a time, they're sent to the desert, because the dry climate helps prevent corrosion.
If it sits on the ground for 1 or 2 months and it hasn't been operated that whole time, it requires a lot more maintenance to bring it back into service than, let's say, if it's been started up every 10 days or so. I was just speaking with the head of maintenance for a significant U.S. airline, and what this person told me is that right now they have need for X number of aircraft, but they're actually keeping 2X, in other words, twice as many active, and they're rotating them, in and out. So that way, for those other aircraft, you won't have to worry about the more extensive maintenance to bring them back into service.
At the moment, we have about 80% of the fleet in the parking mode.
Etihad Airways, for example, returned over 100 planes to its main base in Abu Dhabi, where it sealed up engines and sensors to prevent things like sand from getting into critical areas.
They're a very intricate, complex piece of machinery. It's not like parking a car.
The outlook for coronavirus is still unclear. Boeing told its shareholders that air travel could take 2 to 3 years to return to normal. Airlines have had to consolidate fleets to cut back on costs.
International travel has been hurt the most, and with good reason, and it's very difficult now to travel between countries. This means that long-haul aircraft, which are generally what we call twin aisles or wide bodies, are going to suffer more than single aisles like the 737 and A320. The A380, the big double-decker that Airbus launched, a little bit over a decade ago, every one of those is on the ground. 100% of the A380s are parked today. The larger it is and the older it is, the more it suffers. So when you down gauge, you're going to go to the smallest aircraft, the most economical aircraft.
Airlines before coronavirus were doing great. They had the highest employment levels in the United States, at least in 17 years. They were hiring like crazy pilots, flight attendants, expecting this big rush in travel to continue. And we've seen it over the last decade. They have a decade of profitability. And now they're going to be posting the first losses in years.
Airlines have seen incredible losses, and analysts don't expect that to stop anytime soon. Like many businesses, large and small, they are in survival mode and looking for ways to conserve cash. Lack of demand could lead to canceling or deferring future orders from manufacturers. Airbus and Boeing have already cut back on production, and both companies are planning to slash jobs. As for the thousands of aircraft parked around the world, retirement could come much earlier than expected.
One thing to understand is that before this crisis hit, airlines couldn't get these planes fast enough. One of their biggest complaints was that aircraft were delayed, so the market for aircraft was very high. Airbus and Boeing, which dominate aircraft production, had been sold out of some of their best sellers through pretty much the middle of the decade, so it was even hard to get a slot. We're going to see that kind of reverse, and you'll see some cancellations, you'll see deferrals, and you'll see that market sort of loosen up. But some airlines, because fuel is such a big cost, they do want more fuel-efficient aircraft going forward. But the timing of when they get those planes, that's going to change. It'll all depend on when demand comes back.
6,000 of these are 15 years or older. 4,000 of these are, 20 years or more. And so they're already approaching retirement age. And we're in a situation now where we have thousands of excess aircraft. So if you're an airline and you're deciding what aircraft you're going to keep around, you don't want to spend millions of dollars on maintenance to keep your older aircraft around for them to fly in the next year. So the impact here is dramatic.
There is no timeline for when the world will return back to normal. So for now, much of these aircraft will sit waiting for the return to normalcy like the rest of us.
Okay, Ju, next slide, please.
First-class air travel has often been a playground for the rich and famous. On a first-class flight from New York to Dubai on Emirates Airlines, wealthy passengers can sleep in private suites that feature floor-to-ceiling.
Next slide, please. Thank you, Ji. The clip shows that although the aircraft is on ground, it requires maintenance. That means you got to run the engines, and you got to occasionally fly the aircraft. Otherwise, it's going to cost a lot more very much later when you want to use the aircraft full time. So there's also maintenance costs involved for the airline industry. So it is something that we need to look at. Now this is one, this slide shows the green one, the green line right on the top is 2019 passenger growth, passengers from January to December, right? Usually July to right until September, during the summer months, the northern hemisphere, we have the highest number of people traveling around the globe. Now look at the following year, 2020, last year, all dropped. International and domestic dropped drastically. So this is something that I wanted to share with you. The next one, G. Okay, this is, I just want to let you know these slides will just the different regions are impacted as well because the borders are closed. So just wanted to skim through. Okay, next one. Also, the whole world map where the countries are, the regions are affected is also showed. This is from ICAO. Next one. And we had in 2019, the number of tourists we had was 1.5 billion. And we earned $1.5 trillion US dollars. It's from UNWTO. Next one, please. So last year, it sustained a big loss of 118 billion and down by 65.9 versus 2019. It's IATA, airline industry itself. Next one, please. So I mentioned that passenger traffic, overall reduction of air passengers. This is from ICAO. Airports sell 64.2% on passenger traffic and 65% over USD 110.8 billion. Airport revenues, the collection. Airport revenues means landing fees. You're looking at retailing, renting the retailing outlets and whatnot. So airlines, as mentioned to you, so is tourism, trade, big fall, and the global economy, affecting the global economy from IMF and World Bank. Next one, please. So we are taking different scenarios, the worst scenario and the moderate scenario. So the dramatic one is more 3.3 trillion in 12 months, stand still, not doing anything, where nothing happens, right? Okay, next one, please. So this is about G7 economies, the spending on clothing and other things have reduced drastically. Okay, next one. So aircrafts are parked direct, affecting the company, the airline industry, laying off employees, Asia, Malindo, and other carriers as well, and indirectly for the suppliers. You're talking about fuel suppliers, the catering, the food, and the people who are supplying the food, the farmers and all that. So these all are impacted. Next one, please. So what the airline is doing looking forward. So they partnered with governments and other stakeholders to deliver vaccines under strict time and temperature standard. This one got to be maintained because you're looking at extreme temperature, right? So implemented a recommendation from the ICAO, that International Civil Aviation Organization. They are the people who regulate travel, and also WHO, to keep passengers and crew safe. So it's about addressing the job loss and the immeasurable social and mental toll caused by loss of income, lockdowns, and family separations. So it's a real impact of people. So what is the building blocks for reconnecting the world? It's IATA pass. They are working on the IATA pass, travel pass, which is testing is carried out, should be ready within weeks, right? Which means that's an application where passengers can use that to travel from one place to another place. There are biosafety measures for passengers and crew, all the wearing face covering, contactless, and also the financial aid. The final critical element to a safe and successful restart is for governments to help the ailing industries. So if you do not help them, they will be having a real problem. Next one, please. So these are things that airlines are taking in terms of low risk of transmission, seating position, seating back, seat backs, high airflow rate, and whatnot. So the next one, please. Next slide. So people travel because they want to go back home. Citizens of that country will be only traveling back to their particular country, right? So essential travel only. So because borders are closed, so safe distance. Next one, please. Cabin cleanliness, right? Next one. Food. It's all packed food. It's not like before. You spread the food out and you can enjoy the food. It's all packed, hygienically prepared. Okay. Next one. Okay, contactless. Okay, so we can move on fast now. Okay, this is the airflow. You call that HEPA filters. They make sure that they are very clean. The bacteria and virus are removed in the aircraft cabin. So to ensure, to give assurance that the passengers are safe. Okay, next one, G. So when we lose jobs, our employment is not continuous. We need to look at ways, reset our priorities. We have cases like the Qantas A3 pilot, 380 pilots, who know that the next few years they are going to be out of their jobs. They are happily turned into bus drivers in Sydney City Council, right? We have our Air Tony Fernandez, happy delivering online goods. Yeah, we have our Malindo pilot. He's a cook, inshallah. and our SQ crew, stewardesses, they are helping out in the hospitals. So this is keep in touch what's going on here. Otherwise, you'll be laid off, not doing anything. Next one, please. So what SQ has done is the grounding of the planes, that they have got a few 380s there. They invite people to come and have food on board the aircraft and charging them up from 474 Singapore dollars to 39 US dollars to the economy meals. So it was a sold out actually. It was just within minutes, it was a sold out. So assets are very expensive for them to keep in ground. So this is what you can do, right? One thing. Okay, next one, please. What Emirates have done, they have improved their seatings as well. It's called Premium Economy to London. From Dubai to London, they have this premium seating with generous pitch, and also we have 242 cabin layout, and also they have onboard lounge. This is only applicable to the business and first class travelers, but now the super economy travelers enjoy these facilities. So you have to come out with innovative ways of bringing back the customers. Otherwise, because customers have a choice, right? So next one, please. So this anxiety over demand is not expected to cover to and for another next few years to at least until 2024, because you can see that there are so many debts, and in the graph is growing very high, right? And so many fatalities. The WHO has got a dashboard stating all this, what's happening, the latest, right? So we brought in the COVID first COVID 300 over doses of vaccine on 21st of February, and this was Captain Hamdan, and some of you have met him personally when you visited there. I'm sure you'll remember him, right? So this is one way of beating this crisis and to reconnect the world. The next one, please. So change is the only constant way forward. You get to see what you negotiate. Yeah, so it's the customers is dictating what they want. So airline, last time they find it very difficult to refund and all that difficulty. Now if you continue to do the business the way you have been doing it, you would not have those customers. So next one, please. So the experience is important. So the trip I took 2 years ago, the airline experience, what they're giving you on the airline as well on the ground is very important, so that you will have an unforgettable experience. So it's both sharing. It has to be complementary, the ground as well as airline itself. Next one, please. Okay, next one. Next one. So finally, don't pitch to a human. They don't remember it. They remember the experience, how they feel about it. Every touch point matters. Next one. Future is about human beings helping humans. So technology is a tool. You are a human. Put on a human hat. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So by Alvin Toffler. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Mr. Naban, for such a clear and informative presentation. I'm sure everyone enjoyed that. The airline industry is one means of transportation which most of us use the most to travel long distances. Therefore, I am sure everyone has gained insightful knowledge which can better help your understanding of its role in the tourism industry. I would also like to apologize for the technical issues that we have experienced. Now, I would like to introduce Mr. Dr. Chia, who will be our next speaker. In his presentation, we will have a closer look as to how tourism operators and businesses are adapting to certain changes in what we now know as a new normal. due to the pandemic. I'm sure all of us want to travel and visit places soon. So this is one way to be informed of the different changes you could potentially expect to see when you do so. I now welcome Dr. Chia to start his presentation.
Thank you, Francisca, for the great introductions. And maybe now let me enlarge my screen. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen? Okay. Okay. A greeting from APU Malaysia. Apa khabar? So, COVID-19 is a powerful traveler, I would say, because it requires no visa or passport requirements, and this virus can travel everywhere. Now, let me give you a little bit case update, as it's 4 p.m., 24th February. So if you look at the global total case, it actually achieved over 112 million cases. And the date is more than 2 millions, 2.5 millions. If you look closer, Malaysia case, we have recorded 200, almost 290,000, as yesterday. So, and if we look at the UNWTO forecast, tourism industry is among the most negatively affected by this pandemic, and we all know that. Lockdown in many countries, travel restrictions, and airport and national border closures reduced the numbers of international tourist arrival by 67 million during the first quarter of 2020. And this has caused a loss of about 80 billion US dollar in tourism revenue compared with the same period in 2019. So according to the UNWTO, World Tourism Organization, global tourism suffered its worst year on record in 2020, with international arrivals dropping by 74%, and destination worldwide received 1 billion fewer international arrival in 2020 than in the previous years. So this compared with the 4% decline recorded during the 2009 global economic crisis. And we saw an estimated loss of 1.3 trillion US dollar in export revenues. And this amount is more than 11 times of the loss recorded during the 2009 global economic crisis. And this crisis has put between hundreds to 120 million direct tourism job at risk. And many of them are actually SMEs and the SMEs. And many countries are now reintroducing stricter travel restrictions. These include mandatory testings, quarantine, and in some cases, a complete closures of borders. Now, if you look at another statistics, another survey showed that Asia and the Pacific was the first region to suffer the impact of the pandemic, and the one with the highest level of travel restrictions currently in place. Recorded the largest decrease in arrival in 2020, 300 million fewer. And of course, if you look at the latest panel of experts survey by UNWTO, they actually show a mixed outlook for 2021. So the overall prospect of a rebound in 2021 seems not so good. 50% of the respondents now expect a rebound to occur only next year's. So and the remaining half of respondents still see a potential rebound in 2021. Now let's look further ahead. Most experts do not see a return or to pre-pandemic level happening before 2023. For example, 43% respondents expect a return to 2019 level in 2023, and 41% say will only happen in 2024 or later. So it means that tourism could take 2.5 to 4 years for international tourism to return to 2019 level. Now, let's look at the impact to the travel and tourism industry in Malaysia. Malaysia registered 4.29 millions of tourist arrival in the first 3 quarters of 2020, marking a decrease of 79% compared to the same period in 2019. In terms of tourist expenditure, it was a total of 12.6 billion, a decrease of 81% compared to 66.1 billions received for the same period last year. And of course, the movement control order, or we normally call it a MCO 1.0 and 2.0, caused huge impact to the travel and tourism industry. Over 200 tourism and hotel operators have closed their business since March last year. And the Ministry of Tourism, Art and Culture, MOTEC, report estimated losses for the tourism sectors in the first 6 months in 2020 to be around 45 billions due to the impact of MCO and travel restrictions. And of course, the MCO 2.0 is expected continue to bring significant impact to the tourism sectors because we are not allowed to cross states for any tourism activity. Therefore, many tourism businesses have reduced or held operations until further notice. And tourism SMEs are the key drivers of Malaysian's tourism sectors. We all know that. Okay, the amusement park and the theme park also suffer. Look at Genting. They have closed for several months and almost a year. Okay? Tour bus drivers have been so badly hit by this pandemic that many had no choice, have to sell their buses and declare bankruptcy. And many tour bus operators could not afford the monthly insurance payments for their bus. Okay? There are 3 main challenges faced by SMEs. For example, lack of innovation, and they also fear of competitions, and of course, lack of social protections. Therefore, many SMEs are relying on government incentive to survive. Now, if you look at this figure, this is the financial measurement taken by the Malaysian government in helping the economic recovery. They have social economy stimulus packages, fiscal measures, deference measures, and direct assistance to company. Okay. Now, if you look at the tourism and the hospitality impact, many star hotels were forced to close or temporarily suspend their business until further notice. Now, tourism recovery strategies and way forwards. Look at Maldives. Okay, Maldives as the first Asian country to reopen its border to tourists of all nationality on 15 July 2020. There will be no further incoming traveler restrictions to the country, and of course, Maldives has also introduced the first COVID-19 travel insurance. As what Mr. Naban mentioned just now, you have to be creative, okay, and innovative in the times of crisis. Okay? COVID-19 has caused the largest and fastest shift in human behavior change, and of course, the business model change. Okay? You cannot be always stick to your existing business model. You have to change. Okay? Since there was not enough support being given by the hotel industry from the governments at the moment, especially in Malaysia, tourism business should change their business model. Okay? Singapore Airlines, for example, they launched plane dining and takeaway cabin food, while Royal Brunei Air provide unique dining and a 85 minutes tour in the skies experience. And not to forget, Malaysian Airlines offer its signature salted peanuts as a gift box, while Thai Airways is selling street food in a desperate attempts to balance the financial account during the pandemics. One Penang hotel managers call out for customers to buy a 3 ringgit meal to help staff to survive during the MCO. And other hotels have also set up similar initiative on their premises to attract customers. So on the other hand, Thai Airways opened a restaurant serving in-flight meal. And how about the restaurant and the food and beverages? Hotels in Sabah are resorting to different strategies to reach out to patrons during the MCO. 5-star hotel are offering promotions meal to increase the sales through drive-through or takeaway. Now, maybe we can think about, is this a new way of dining behavior? Okay, this photo, one of the restaurants in, I think this is in Cyberjaya. So they actually introduced this kinds of in-car dining experience. Okay, of course, you don't need to go into the restaurant and dine, because you will never know who is the one there who are sitting next to you, and whether they are infected by the COVID. So this is another new way of dining behavior. And of course, the travel bubbles, okay, also known as travel corridors, is essentials an exclusive partnership between two or more countries that have demonstrated considerable success in containing and combating the COVID-19 within their respective borders. So these countries then go on to re-establish connection between them by opening up borders and allowing people to travel freely within the zone without having the need to undergo on arrivals quarantine. Okay? So the first travel bubbles in Asia and the Pacific was established between the People's Republic of China and the Republic of Korea on 1st of May 2020. However, it was only limited to business travelers who have an invitation from a company in the other countries. However, travel bubbles also raise some concern. Okay, it will be suspended if either city see the daily average numbers of untraceable cases in 1 week reach more than 5. So if you look at the photograph, that was a failure between Singapore and Hong Kong. However, they are restarting. Okay, we are restarting the travel bubbles in the near futures. Of course, domestic tourism. Okay, domestic tourism can stimulate economic recovery in Asia and the Pacific, okay? Particularly those with strong local tourism market, like China, for example. However, this is not viable options for highly tourism-dependent countries like Fiji, Maldives, and Palau. Okay, instead, government should consider supporting tourism enterprise to build back better. Measures can include economic stimulus packages, establishment of health and sanitary protocols, special incentive to boost demand. Like, for example, last year, our Malaysian government introduced the incentive, right, for you to travel in Malaysia, cuti Malaysia. They provide voucher, okay, and promoting investment in sustainable tourism. So in the future, Malaysian, if let's say we want to travel overseas, we might not think about travel long haul, like travel to Europe, US, because the next focus will be regionals. Okay, we will see a regional cooperations between the ASEAN countries, the 10 countries. So next time Malaysians want to travel, it will be ASEANs, okay, the Southeast Asia countries. And of course, the gradual rollout of COVID-19 vaccine is expected to help restore consumer confidence, okay, contribute to the easing travel restriction and slowly normalize travel during the year ahead. So in the future, many countries actually they are planning to introduce a vaccine visa or passport, okay, that certified that its holder has been vaccinated against COVID-19 and is able to travel between countries. So this is in addition to the regular welcome, what do you call this, entry requirements such as passport and visas. So although many practitioners in the travel industry, they welcome the idea of creating this basic visa or passport to enable travel and tourism to resume safely. But the problem is that there is no uniform global approach to developing the documents. And the vaccine visa concept will help build confidence. Now, if you look at the hospitality and F&B sectors, and they are now implementing the contact tracing, temperature testing. When you enter the outlets or the hotel, there is a mandatory temperatures testing, and of course you will be asked to scan the QR code for the contact tracing. And of course, the self-service pay system will be a new trend. Although in some countries, in China, like for example, it is very common. So, and of course, there's in the future there might be a complimentary hand sanitizer station at the entrance and exits. Okay, if you look at when you normally check in your hotel, when you go into your room, you may get towel, fresh towel, but maybe this time you will get complimentary hand sanitizer or maybe a set of masks. And now a lot of restaurant, okay, they use mobile apps to order the food. Okay, and then non-contact service and order delivery, and of course the online payment. So this is the innovation and the creativity in the hotel industry and F&B. Okay, they actually use robotics, okay, meal delivery, front desk services, okay, and contactless check-in. Contactless check-in solutions can keep customers safe from virus spread by cutting down on as much as touch point as possible. So while this technology was available pre-pandemic, yeah, it's common. It's common. Okay? This crisis has encouraged wider adoptions and promotions of the keyless entry options across the industry. Okay? Guests can easily access, okay, and unlock their hotel room by tapping their phone. Okay? In fact, contactless check-in is not something new, especially if you have been to Genting, okay, the first world hotel. They also use the contactless check-in. And quarantine hotel will be another trend, especially for those who need quarantine services when they return to the countries. Okay, so of course, the work from home is another new trend. So there are many packages offered by respective hotel where at a very low cost. And finally, embrace new normal. Okay, this is the very important things. No matter where you go, you must keep a distance at least 2 meters. Okay, and of course the contact you have to scan contact tracing. No matter where you go, and even temperature screening at the security checkpoint. And of course, when you travel next time, you might probably need to wear a mask, okay? And you need to sanitize your hand no matter where you go. And next time in your luggage, you may no longer carry your normal clothes. Okay, you might need to carry masks, okay, or sanitizers. Okay, so in conclusions, although the outlook for tourism economy recovery remain highly uncertain, okay, we must be optimistic about the future of tourism. Okay, at the same time, practice new normal. Okay, we hope we can return to the old normal very, very soon. So stay safe together. There's one proverb: when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. And hashtag kita jaga kita. We protect, we take care of ourselves. With that, thank you very much and terima kasih.
Thank you, Dr. Chia. That was a very interesting presentation. The pandemic has surely brought changes to many operations and activities that takes place in the tourism industry, and we must all try to adapt to the new ways and procedures for taking part in the tourism industry. We have come to the end of our presentations from our speaker, and we will now look into the comments and questions you guys have for us.
Okay, Francisca, the first question being posed by one of them, that 777 is a smaller aircraft. Okay, The 777 is the extended range version. That means it's a long range version. It's got two engines which can fly non-stop for a pretty long time. 747, of course, it has an older version, has got four engines. It burns more fuel, so it requires more tech stop. But subsequently, the 747 also, the four engine, was able to improve the efficiency of the aircraft. They were also able to fly non-stop from A to B for a long time. But of course, 747 has got four engines. They are fuel guzzlers, and you need to have a lot of passengers to get into the plane. Like the 747-400, you need at least 500 over passengers at one time. It's not easy to get passengers. So they have the two twin engine aircraft like the 777, 787, and the 350s is a improved version, and it's very popular among the airline because it saves a lot more fuel, and you don't have to sell 500 over seats at one time. You sell capacities about 200 over. I think the airlines are quite happy. They manage the cost and they fly the aircraft. That's why this one, they are quite popular. The twin engine aircrafts are quite popular as compared to the four engine aircraft. And you can see the 380, except for the Emirates, they are flying them around. The rest of them have retired the aircraft because it is not going to be something which is not going to fly for a while, because to get number of passengers back again is not easy because of this COVID pandemic. That's what I saw, and I answered the question just now. I hope whoever is asking is happy with the response.
Sir, now I have another second question for you. When the airline demand is back in the future, is there any opportunities or ways that the company can integrate their COVID-19 services to its operation?
Please repeat that slowly.
When the airline demand is back in the future, is there any opportunities or ways that the company can integrate their COVID-19 services to its operation?
Yes, they will be assessing and evaluating the situation where the demand is concerned, what the preference of the passengers. Like right now, passenger aircrafts are used for cargo. Because the cargo is in big demand, they're using cargo into the aircraft seats, of course, properly fastened, and also cargo planes are being flown all over the world. So now, when situation improves, they are going to re-evaluate the situation once again, and all depends on the customer requirements, and probably they will continue as what we have this currently we are doing right now, right? Like for example, online delivery of services and food and whatnot. So is a touch and go situation. Again, we are looking at how we can do best with this. The curve is the pandemic curve is reduced.
Thank you, sir, for your answer. I have a third question for you. Will the pandemic encourage stronger relationships between airlines, or will they enforce their competitive strategies instead?
Yes, because we are not going to get, the airlines are not going to get so many customers like before, right? So the customers have a lot of choice to make. So the airlines have to strategize with other people, partners, to work together, so they can. It's a win-win situation. you cannot be looking at competition in the future. That's what I am looking at.
Thank you, sir. Now I have a question for Dr. Chia. Do you feel that all of these immediate efforts by airline and hotel industry is here to stay, or it will continuously change, or all of these will begin as soon as we go back to normal?
Is this questions direct to me? Because
Yes, sir.
I think it's by airline or hotel. Okay, hotel industry. Okay,
Yes.
do you feel that all of this immediate effort by airline and hotel is here to stay or continue? Of course, for me, I think that I think a few days ago there was an article talk about it is very dangerous to go back to the normal. Okay, because again we are still not ready. Okay, I think there was one paper published by one of the tourism professors. It's very dangerous to go back to the normal. Okay, unless all of us we get vaccine. So of course the airline and the hotel industry is here to stay. Okay, because you see, if most of the especially the tour operators, if you look at them, they are still not giving up. They are still not giving up. They are maybe today they shift their, as I say, you have to change your business model. Like what there was a tour operators that I knew. He stopped. Okay, he stopped his business. Okay, for several months. And what he was doing, if I'm not mistaken, he was selling some food. Okay, and open an online grocery shops. Again, according to him, he is very confident that tourism will rebound. And during that time, he will definitely go back to the industry. I think I answered the questions. And
thank you, Dr. Chia. I have another question for you. While tourism has faced tough times in the past, do you think COVID-19 would be the hardest to recover from? If so, why?
do you think the COVID will be hardest to recover? Again, we are hoping for the vaccine. Okay, if you look at today, our Prime Minister was the first person to vaccinated. So we believe that the vaccine can help us. Again, I would say maintaining embracing the new normal will be more important. Okay, because we know that vaccine is not everything. Okay, we have to embrace the new normal. Again, like I say, if you look at today, okay, Malaysians, or let's say 80% of the Malaysians, they are vaccinated. And how about you? Okay, those are foreigners, okay, that wants to enter Malaysia. Okay? They are required to get the vaccine. Otherwise, I don't think they were allowed to enter Malaysia. I think it happens to all around countries. Okay, even today, I want to travel to Singapore. Of course, the Singaporean governments will require me to show some documentation that I've got my vaccinated. So yeah, again, we need to be optimistic. Okay, it will recover, but when? That remains another question. Like I show you, okay, it could take 2.5 to 4 years to recover. Okay, to 2019 level. Okay, we are comparing to 2019 level. Okay, 2 years ago before the pandemics. Okay, if you want to go back to 2019 and you want to achieve all the economics indicator, okay, the arrival as well as the GDP, it takes time. Okay, for me it takes time.
Thank you, Dr. Chia. I have another question for you. Do you think destinations which are considered remote, like Seychelles, will be hit the hardest by low tourist arrivals because tourists are more likely to travel regionally rather than long haul?
I believe that Gabrielle, she's from Seychelles. I think Francisca, you can answer better more than me. If you look at Seychelles, for example, okay, this country is heavily depends on tourism. If you look at a lot of small island developing state (SIDS), okay, they are highly depends on tourism. Just look at the Maldives, for example. Okay, they are highly depends on the tourism revenue. So if today we are talking about the regional travels, of course, what are the concerns of regional travel? Like for example, if you look at Malaysia, for example, okay, if let's say in the futures, why so many countries they are targeting the China? Why they are targeting the Chinese? It's because the spending power. We understand that if let's say you focus regionals, and maybe I ask you, Francisca, what is the nearest country? Okay, near Seychelles, for example.
Mauritius.
Mauritius. So do you think that their spending power is as high as those British and European? I don't think so. Okay, in terms of purchasing power, I would say purchasing power is a problem. Okay, where you attract, okay, the regional partners, right, or the neighboring countries. Okay, so maybe this is another problem. But again, as I say, the future of travel will be regionals. Okay, will be regionals. Even we have this discussion during the what they call a conference that I attend last month. So we all agree that it will be a regional, like for example, ASEAN plus China, for example, okay, or ASEAN plus Taiwan, Korea, or any other countries. Okay, I mean it's very difficult to define what it means by long haul, okay, and short haul. Okay, for some people, traveling 5 hours is considered as a long haul trips. Okay, so again, the focus will be regionals in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chia. And also a big thank you to Dr. Sanaban. So that concludes our question and answers. We'll now we have now reached the end. So I would like to say a big thank you on behalf of my team, and also thank you to thank you the speakers, Mr. Naban and Dr. Chia, for able to give us their time and commitment, and also thank you to our module lecturer, Mr. Iswa, as well as all other lecturers present. We also like to say a big thank you to everyone who has attended the event and participated. Your presence has contributed to the success of the webinar. Please don't forget to fill in the evaluation form we have prepared, as it would be much appreciated. The link for the form can be found in the comment section. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.